Hey everyone, welcome to Websleuths YouTube Live. My name is Trisha Griffith. I'm the manager of Websleuths.com, which is this great true crime discussion forum. No, I'm not trying to imitate Hugh Hefner or try and look like a lounge singer or have some fancy pajamas on. This was supposed to be a nice suit, and I look at it and I think this is what Hugh Hefner would have worn in the 50s. It's like a smoking jacket. So anyway, I had to wear it once just to see. It's very comfortable. But thank you for joining us tonight. Websleuths.com, the place to go for true crime discussion. Really, don't check out those other places. Just go straight to websleuths.com because we monitor it and moderate it 24/7, and we don't allow a bunch of crap on there. You can read the facts and read the great discussions that our members are having. Now, tonight, I am delighted to have back with us Little Texan. I call her the Duggar Digger because she has been following the Duggars since they had that special 14 and counting, or 14 and birthing, or 14 and my uterus is going to fall out, whatever the hell the special was on the Discovery Channel, not the Discovery, sorry, the Learning Channel, TLC. And she is like up to date on everything Duggar. We're going to find out about Joseph Duggar, what's going on with the latest with him. And there are some things being stated about Kendra Duggar and the children. They have charges against both of them now concerning, we believe, their children. Have their children been taken away? We're going to get into all of that because Joseph Duggar has been charged with basically SAing a child. And you remember his brother, what's his name? Josh. Yeah, good old Josh. He's in prison for having CP on his computer. Yeah, lovely family. We'll get into all of that. And then the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping. There is so much drama going on with Sheriff Nanos. It's like Nancy's kidnapping kind of gets left behind. And there's a recall effort happening. There are people making all kinds of comments about how working with the sheriff, how difficult it is. People are asking questions. Why hasn't the sheriff given us more information? And then Nancy Guthrie's family made a statement. And in this statement, they talk about January 11th. Why that date? We're going to get into all of that, everything, with Little Texan and our wonderful friend that we love dearly, Stacy, the insightful one. She is taking the night off. She's going to get to bed early. She's promised me, and she will be fresh and ready to go tomorrow. Her husband's doing good. He had a doctor's appointment. It all looks good. So we have some good news to report tonight, but let's get right to the Duggars and welcome back Little Texan. Little Texan, how are you doing, my dear? How's life?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It must be crazy for you because there is so much going on. And the problem is with this case is there are some unreliable sources, and we won't get into who they are, but
Mhm.
then reliable sources will rely on the unreliable sources. And
Mhm.
so we kind of have to, we'll report it all to you, but we have to remember we don't have the actual facts. So we have to keep that in mind. But in case somebody has been in a cave with the Taliban, and it can happen, and they have not heard what happened with the arrest of Joseph Duggar, why don't we start there, Little Tex, and tell us what happened with him, and then we'll just go right from there.
Okay. So Joseph Duggar, he is seventh in the birth order of the 19 kids. He is the
Mm-hmm.
third son. He is 31 years old, and he was arrested just last week on
Mm-hmm.
I believe this all came to light on St. Patrick's Day, but the
Yes.
arrest was the following day. The state of Florida issued an arrest warrant for him for felony lewd and lascivious behavior against a child under the age of 12. The child in question is reported to have been a 9-year-old girl. And he was over 18. He would have been 25 at the time of the alleged offenses that took place in 2020. And they issued a warrant for his arrest, and Washington County out of Arkansas, where he lives, took that warrant and arrested him. and booked him into their jail. And that is where he has been since, to my knowledge. He did have an extradition hearing on Friday. He waived his, his right to have that extradition hearing. He had met with the judge, and they will be extraditing him back to Florida. I believe they have 30 days. I assume it will probably not take that long, but I have not seen any confirmation that he has left Arkansas yet. In the
Mm-hmm.
meantime, the police seem to have gone to the house where he lived with his wife, Kendra, and their 4 children, and subsequently issued misdemeanor charges, but multiple misdemeanor charges against both Joseph and Kendra, identical charges. Those were brought by the state of Arkansas, and those were 4 counts of endangering the welfare of a child and um, unlawful imprisonment, false
Imprisonment.
imprisonment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that is, they also took her in. I believe she turned herself in. That is what is, I believe, was reported on one of the local channels, because the police went looking for her at the main Duggar compound, which is, so my recollection is that Kendra and Joe had a property on that acreage that is part of
Okay.
the compound, but they didn't live, or, I believe they still had one there, but they didn't live in the big house per
Mm-hmm.
se. But it's all gated and fenced, and I guess the police couldn't get in for a good 30 minutes or so. And then supposedly we're told by someone at the compound that
Mm-hmm.
Kendra would turn herself in, which she apparently did. She was then, booked and then bonded out for $1,470 and released to where, I don't know, but we do know Michelle Duggar picked her up because the Daily Mail got pictures of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's who went and got her, is Michelle
Right.
Duggar. Uh, that's kind of the up to date information, at least as of the end of the week last
Well,
week.
somebody just posted in chat, Lori F7R says, I saw a video of Michelle going up to a reporter's car and she told him to leave the children
Yeah.
alone, that they were in the house. She used her big girl voice. I'm going to try and find
I
that.
saw that,
Mm-hmm.
but it is unverified if that is AI or that is
Oh,
real.
then you know what? If we
I
are not sure, I
At
don't
least
want to even
last I
risk
saw
it.
it. To be fair, I haven't checked in about 2 hours, so maybe something has been verified since then. But I did see that earlier this evening. And believe me, Michelle can definitely use a big girl voice. So it's
Oh,
certainly
absolutely.
possible that it's real. I mean, we've had reports even over the years of just other people who knew the family or had visited the family
Right.
or spent any time with the kids. It's not as if she whispered all day long, all the
Right.
time. But I got kind of excited, and then I thought, and then people were sort of commenting, not so sure this is real. This might be
Mm-hmm.
AI. I think it came off TikTok, maybe. I'm not even sure where it originated.
Right.
So just not sure. Not saying it's
Well,
100% false, but not sure.
let me see if I can find it here.
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it. I mean,
Let's
people
see.
can also, I know a lot less about AI and fakes and things like that than most people
Right.
probably do, but I'm just erring on the side of I don't see that confirmed even by like page 6 or something yet,
Yeah.
or
I
something that,
Well, I think that would be everywhere if it was real, you know? It would be just massive, I would
you'd
think.
think, although it's
Yeah.
certainly, if it was late breaking for any reason, perhaps it still will be. That's why I'm like, I don't want to completely dismiss it out of hand. I did see it, but
Right.
I'm also not sure. So
Yeah.
but I
Um,
won't be defending Michelle. I mean,
no, no,
obviously,
no. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm just seeing if I can find it maybe on YouTube here really quickly. Um, because it could absolutely be legit. But again,
it could. It's
oh,
hard to
this
say
AI,
if it's AI
this,
or if it's somewhat altered even. I'm
right.
just not too sure. I guess if she really is, mad at somebody or a
Mm-hmm.
reporter or something, I mean, it's on the one hand, I guess that's understandable, even though she
Yes.
she really doesn't have a leg to stand on, in my opinion. But
Right.
at the same time, I suppose the knee jerk reaction would be, get off my lawn kind of stuff.
Well, okay, this I can't tell. This is from something called Tuff Topic. Do you know who that is?
I am aware of her. She's on
Okay,
TikTok.
okay. And I'm just going to look at this really quickly, everybody. I'm going to turn it down a little bit.
Your son's doing something definitely worse.
You have no right to be
We
here.
all know the Duggars have tried their hardest to keep a low profile.
Okay, again, I don't have any idea. I'm certainly not disparaging this person at all, because this could absolutely be legit. But
it definitely could be.
It looks like somebody pulling up to the front of the compound, and Michelle coming out with her. Just a second. Okay, you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm going to play this.
Go for it.
We're going to give credit to Tuff Topic. I don't know where this person got it from, but please keep in mind we have not been able to verify this yet. But it looks real. If this isn't real,
I know. I'm with you on that. I'm not sure though. So
if this isn't real, then you know what? Then I give up. I really do. Truly I'm just going to give up. I'm going to just stay home, eat Taco Bell, and watch YouTube the rest of my life, because this looks so dang real to me.
I know. I agree with you.
So let me grab it here really quickly. Okay, again, I am not familiar with this YouTuber, but we do want to give her complete credit for this. Okay, so this is a 2-minute video. I'm going to put the link in chat, and we'll be stopping to discuss. We won't play the whole 2 minutes without stopping to discuss. So here we go. Let me get this here. And again, we have not verified that this is a actual, oh, come on, shut. Oh my gosh, now I'm spinning. Hold on. Oh, this makes me so crazy, you guys. Sorry, I think I'm frozen. Okay, hang on. Let's see here. I think I might have been frozen there for a minute. Let's see here. Come on. Oh, what is wrong with my computer? Share this dang screen. Oh, you guys. Am I frozen, or can you hear me? I think I'm frozen. Okay. Here we go.
Protecting children. What are you doing?
What were they doing in the interview? What was your son doing something definitely worse?
The right to be here.
As we all know, the Duggars have tried their hardest to keep a low profile and be private since 2021, after Josh was found guilty on some horrific charges related to kids. But now they really have been hiding out to avoid the mass chaos related to their son Joseph Duggar's charges. And Kendra. Michelle was spotted out by a reporter and completely spazzed out on him. And I don't think that I have ever seen Michelle raise her voice past a level 5. The reporter came to the road and was approached by Michelle as she had her phone out. He immediately starts recording her for his protection. Michelle says that she is protecting children, which is an interesting statement considering she didn't protect her own children from her son Josh, who was allowed back into the family home just months after the touching.
Okay.
You are interfering with children.
No, I'm not messing with the children.
Yes,
This has nothing to do.
Yes, you are. They were children.
This has nothing to do with the children. This is you guys are being investigated for the children. I'm here for press.
Okay, guys, I want to stop right there and talk about this for just a second. Let me do this. And again, this is from Tuff Topic, and I've put the link in chat, and I'll put it in chat again. Not saying anything disparaging about this person. Again, we just haven't verified this video, but let's continue.
I'm not saying this reporter is in the right, because no one wants media all over their butts at a time like this. However, it looks like this may be at the location Kendra and the kids are staying at for now during the cases. We shall see what comes out next. I am actually surprised that Michelle approached this person. Michelle normally has this keep sweet personality. She never raises her voice. She always lets Jim Bob handles the hard stuff. But this really shocked me. Maybe it's the adrenaline. Maybe it's just her.
Let's go back here and Watch it again.
Spazzed out on him, and I don't think Michelle raised her voice past a level 5. The reporter came to the road and was approached by Michelle as she had her phone out. He immediately starts recording her for his protection. Michelle says that she is protecting children, which is an interesting statement considering she didn't protect her own children from her son Josh, who was allowed back into the family home just months after the touching.
Okay.
You are interfering with children.
No, I'm not messing with the children.
Yes,
This has
you
nothing.
are.
This has nothing to
Yes,
do.
you are. They were
This has-
children.
This has
Shame
nothing.
on you.
This has nothing to do with the children.
You.
This is you guys are being investigated for the children. I'm here for press.
On you.
I'm not
Okay, so there you go. And I put the link in chat. Again, that doesn't surprise me that that could be her. But, and again, I'm certainly not defending Michelle, but I can imagine how obnoxious it is to have a reporter in your driveway like that,
Yeah, I'm
so,
just wondering if that's really a reporter or if that's kind of like
yeah,
a rogue YouTuber. And that can potentially cause problems. We don't want to inadvertently
absolutely.
give sympathy to these horrible families by
Right.
trespassing on their property and
You know
potentially.
what? Somebody brought up something right here. Just call me Kim. Does she wear pants? She was wearing
Well,
pants in that video.
yes, she often has a skirt on over them, but we have
Okay.
seen her occasionally, very occasionally, in
Right.
something that's sort of that kind of getup. And I think that's also made some news with Kendra's booking, or not even booking photo, but her booking video that came out.
Uh-huh.
The biggest buzz online seemed to be, oh my word, she's wearing pants.
She's wearing pants. So
So
maybe they've
it's
loosened
so
up a little bit.
unusual. Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Well, and
yeah,
people are saying this was a TikToker. So,
that's concerning
again,
to me.
yeah, I'm not absolutely not defending Michelle Duggar, but
No,
boy, I
no.
can understand the frustration of walking out to your driveway and having somebody sitting there just filming like that, So,
Yeah, because although I'm sure you and I agree she's not exactly good at protecting children, there
yeah,
likely are
exactly.
a gaggle of minor children flocking around that property at any
Hmm.
given time. And
Right.
even someone like Michelle doesn't deserve to have like a weird guy creeping along the property line. I mean, she has
Y-
enough
y-
trouble with her own sons. So
Yeah, she has enough creepiness with her own sons.
yeah,
Exactly. And again, we can't confirm if that's AI or not, but it looked like her, it sounded like
yeah,
her,
yeah,
and there was nothing to suggest that it wasn't her.
right.
But in this day
Yeah.
and age, and hopefully by tomorrow we'll have more information. But I just wanted to see maybe, yeah, and you could pick it apart and say, she doesn't yell like that. Her hand's different than her face color. If
Uh,
that is AI, then that TikToker needs to be kicked
it's
off.
probably real. It's
Yeah,
obviously, was it edited in terms of like being spliced a bit, or what was really said? What all did he say?
right.
Just I don't know. I don't know. I would be careful though, because he may catch some sort of lawsuit. We know that Jim Bob can be very litigious.
Oh, big
So
time.
I wouldn't personally trespass in this situation.
No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. A lot of people are saying in chat, oh, it's not her, it's not her. I
I think it's her,
I think it's
but
her. I do too. Just but then again, I've been fooled by AI before, believe me.
sure, sure. I
Really
mean,
fooled.
it's really pathetic, as per usual with that family,
Hmm.
if Jim Bob is still too chicken to come out and kick the weird guy off his own property. He makes his
Right.
wife do that. So,
Yeah. And again, with that family, you never know.
yeah.
But let's talk about Kendra. Now, okay, let's back up. Let's talk about Joseph. This happened when this child was 9. It has been said, again, nothing factual that we can say for sure, but it has been said that this was somebody in Kendra's family. Have you heard that?
I have, and I find that confusing because she does not have a 14-year-old sister.
Hmm.
So, unless they're talking about a different relative, or we're supposed to infer that the police are lying about the age, which, hey, the police are certainly allowed to lie. And if it
Sure.
were to protect a child, I would have very little problem with that.
Right.
But she does not have a 14-year-old sister. She has a 15-year-old sister who is about to turn 16.
Okay. So that
So
wouldn't be the
in
right
a
age.
couple of months, but I understand that it's all over everywhere on social media, which is,
Hmm.
first of all, it's gross. Why are
Right.
we trying to figure out a sex crimes victim, particularly a little kid?
We shouldn't be. We shouldn't. It
That's
shouldn't even be
disgusting.
talked about that way. Yeah.
But
But it's
it's
everywhere.
also gross if we're now just assuming it's her sister. She doesn't fit the age. So I don't know. The math doesn't math for me,
Hmm.
but maybe
Right.
I'm missing something that the rest of the internet sees. But I don't want to know who the victim is. That is gross and irrelevant. And if that victim, when she is older, wants to come forward, great. If
Right.
not, that's her right. I think a lot's been
Absolutely.
taken from her, so I think this is really gross.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. And supposedly what had, and please, little Texan, correct me if I'm wrong, but kept asking her to sit on his lap.
Yes.
And did he put the blanket over them while she was sitting on his lap too? I'll get to the couch in a
Uh,
moment. But
I don't know if they mentioned a blanket with that. I mean, certainly it could have been the case. I don't think we've been given those details yet.
hmm
The other thing, just for a second about the victim, another thing to remember about these mega giant IBLP, IAFB families, it's very possible there were either another mega family with them on their
hmm
family vacation or just a
yes,
couple of kids from another
right,
mega family. So
exactly.
it's really not out of the question. They could have had what they would call a mother's helper. I mean,
hmm
Kendra's mother has 9 kids. So
Oh
even then,
wow,
I think she had
really?
8, she had at least 8 then.
Oh
So
geez.
who's to say? And I believe there's some talk that if the trip in question was the one people online seem to think it was for a different daughter, not the one people seem to think is
hmm
the victim, who's frankly too old, but one that's in between Kendra and that child. It was for an
hmm
engagement announcement, who that she never went through with that marriage. But that guy was also from a fairly good sized family. So what if his extended family was there? I mean, I don't want to try to suss this out anyway, but
Right.
we have no idea. These people travel in circles with other giant families,
Well,
very
they travel in
insulated home,
packs.
yeah, and
Yeah.
homeschooled groups that
Right.
i- I think the big takeaway from the whole thing is I'm kind of in shock that if it
hmm
was a father from that circle of anybody, whether her own family or that he would actually have gone to the police is remarkable in this
It is.
culture.
And let's talk about that because of the culture and the way they protect each other. This father, when he learned of it, he became very angry. And again, we're just going by what has been written. We won't know anything until I'm sure a trial happens, and it looks like a trial will happen. But the father became very angry and
Yes.
confronted him
Yeah.
on the phone, and he admitted it. And he went to the police. The police got on the phone again with Joseph and the father and the detective,
Yeah.
and he admitted it again. So the
Yes.
detective heard it, and that is what supposedly has been written. And uh, he kept asking her to sit on his lap, and then he took her to the couch, put a blanket over her, and we'll just leave it at that. So I am delighted that the father did the right
Yes.
thing rather
It's
than going to
shocking.
Jim Bob. Yeah, it is shocking because normally you would think they go to Jim Bob and then they'd give him a stern talking to and send him to a camp. And, no,
Yes. And if
he
it
went,
was someone who is even sort of related through marriage or whatever else,
mm-hmm,
it seems even more shocking that they would not
exactly.
just go straight to Jim Bob. And
And so,
yes, exactly. They'd go to camp. He'd go to wherever that place is they sent Josh as an adult.
right.
The that I don't even know, the
I
Bible
can't
camp
remember
for
that.
adults. But
Right. The one where they make you, build a outhouse or something as
well, I was
punishment.
thinking not the one he went to when he was a teenager, where he dug a ditch and shaved his head, but when
Oh,
remember they sent him when he had the Ashley Madison scandal? Because
oh,
again,
that's right.
that's
Yes,
what
that's
got them
right.
riled up was the adultery with the possible porn star, and not
Yes.
not a child, an actual adult person,
Yeah.
and that
Not
got
his
them
own
all.
sisters.
Yes, that got them all out of sorts, and they sent him to this place in Rockford, Illinois, that's like a rehab for
Hmm.
Bible people.
Right.
I don't think there's any legit science behind any of it. And
Oh, of
he just
course
went
not.
there and, read the Bible for 30 days or something.
Right. And that he
So
was
that's
cured.
what I would have kind of anticipated with Joseph if Jim Bob either were in charge of this whole situation or
Hmm.
were notified first. I don't know. Whoever that dad is, that's really unusual in these circles that he did the right thing.
It is. And what's unusual is usually Jim Bob, like you said, has all the power and control. That just shows me maybe Jim Bob is losing some of his power and control. So good for that
Possibly.
dad for
I mean, there
doing the
is
right thing.
there is a there is a dark side though that I hate to
Yes.
bring it down. One of my favorite podcasts, I'm just going to shout out here, is Leaving Eden. I think I've mentioned it before on here.
Hmm.
They've been around for years, and
They're great. Yes.
they're so good. And they did kind of an emergency podcast after this happened. And since Sadie, one of the hosts of that podcast, grew up in the
Hmm.
IFB, she has a lot of insight that those of us who did not grow up in the IFB or the IBLP have. And
Hmm.
she made a very chilling statement, but it makes a lot of sense. She said, what I'm concerned about, although still great that the dad did this, but what I'm
Yes.
concerned about is that the reason this may have come to light when it did, i.e., a 14-year-old girl, is because Sadie said she has unfortunately witnessed something like this before, is
Hmm.
that the girl may not have been able to sign her purity pledge. Yeah. Yep. That was my reaction.
Oh my
Now,
God.
of course, again, I don't want to speculate about who this child is at all, but the age would fit for any girl of that age in that weird cult environment. And that might have been, she might have felt she could not sign her
Can
purity
you
pledge, which,
explain
as
that?
you know, they would give to daddy because daddy owns you until your husband does. And he owns your purity, your virginity, everything about your person if you're a girl. And they get a purity
Oh,
ring around that age, typically, the girls. I don't know. Now, I wish I could explain it more. You'd actually have to ask someone like Sadie who's been through it personally, as far as what the pledge would entail. I can only guess.
but in other
But
words, this
yeah,
14-year-old girl felt
yeah,
like because what
maybe,
happened,
maybe.
we
Yeah,
we we think
yeah,
felt that what happened with her and Joseph, she could not sign this pledge.
yeah,
And
perhaps.
that's what she was worried about. And this comes from somebody who was actually in this cult.
Right. I take
She seemed
Sadie's
right.
words with a lot of weight because she grew up in that exact culture.
And what
And
is the name? What is the name of the podcast again?
oh, Leaving Eden. It's with
I'm just going to put leaving
Sadie
Eden
Carpenter and
in.
Gabi Hakohen. It's a great podcast. They don't just talk about the Duggars at all, not by any stretch, but
Yeah.
they do cover them as well. And when she said that, I had the same reaction you did, thinking,
Just
"Oh my
shocked.
goodness, that makes so much sense." Of course, it could be any other reason, and oh gosh, I hope it was
Right.
any other reason,
Oh,
but it makes a lot of sense because who would own that like who would you be pledging that to? They don't just privately make secret pledges to the Lord and
mm-hmm.
not tell anyone. This goes through your
Right.
parents. And I'm sure
Right.
daddy is the one who has to probably hand you the paper that says, do you promise to stay pure forever? Well, not forever, but until your husband gets you,
Yeah.
until we
Oh,
sell
God,
you
it's
to your
just
husband.
disgusting.
Yeah. And this poor child,
Oh
to
my
even, and it
God.
also, I mean, I know, Elizabeth Smart. She's
Oh, yes.
spoken at length about this kind of nonsense.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
and that's exactly the kind of thought she had back then,
Hmm.
that I'm
Exactly.
damaged and I'm this and I'm that from crap that happened to her.
It wasn't her. Yeah.
So,
Had nothing to
yeah,
do with
I
her.
mean, not that
It
it should
was out
matter
of her
either way,
control.
but like it was
Right.
completely out of her control.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Exactly.
I don't know. When Sadie said that, I just sort of gasped and thought, yeah, yeah, that would totally track with the age of 14.
And Bipolar Express, I'm with you. I can't imagine talking to my dad about my purity. I would die. But I
About the
do want to
state of
mention,
your, yeah,
yeah, I do want to mention Carrie Lynn 10. Thank you so much for the super chat. And let me tell you, any super chats, any money raised on this channel doesn't go to me, doesn't go to Stacy. It goes to dnasolves.com. Check out the website. It's where they raise money for DNA testing for unidentified remains. All of it goes directly to them. Okay. So thank you, Carrie Lynn. They'll be getting $5 from you. She says, I still believe the family is involved. Do you agree? I'm not sure what you mean by involved, but and what family you're talking
Yeah, I
about, but
don't know which family she means. I mean, clearly the
yeah,
Duggars are deeply involved with all of
oh,
this
absolutely. Yes,
grossness. The
absolutely.
Caldwells, I mean, as I said, there's a couple of options if I don't like going down that road, but it could be the police are trying to disguise the identity
Mm-hmm.
of the victim by giving a fake age, and I'm all for that if that's what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Or, I mean,
Absolutely.
I don't know if that's a thing but I know they could, in theory at
Mm-hmm.
least. Or it could be that it's even another relative, another cousin. I have to admit, I don't know the whole family tree of the Caldwells.
Right,
Um,
right.
so I mean, the fact that they have 9 kids,
Mm-hmm.
could one of the parents have like a sibling themselves who has a boatload of children? Probably.
Yeah,
Could it be a
absolutely.
cousin? You know,
It could,
um,
that's just it. You just never know. Everybody, Little Texan is with us tonight. Stacy has the night off, and Little Texan is our Duggar digger digging into what is going on with the Duggar family. Now, there are two cases that we're talking about, two separate situations. One is Joseph. He's been arrested for SAing a 9-year-old back in 2020, I believe it was. And it has just come to light. And apparently, according to the detective, he admitted it on the phone. He said his thoughts were impure and he apologized. I guess he thought that would be enough. But no, thank goodness they arrested him, threw him in jail. He's waived extradition to go back to Florida. So what they did was they started an investigation and they went to Joseph and Kendra's house. While there, we don't know what they discover, but we can kind of have a pretty good idea. And they have charged both of them with child. What was it? What were the exact charges with the
Oh,
kids
the endangering the welfare of a child and false imprisonment, and
and
4
false
counts
imprisonment?
each. And
Yes,
again, I don't like trying to figure out victims, but that one seems very straightforward. They do have 4 minor children.
you have to wonder.
So
And
I'm
this is what's being
assuming.
reported on social media, that there were locks on the outside of the door, that the children were kept locked in. I would have to think that before Child Protective Services would move in and make a charge like that, it would have to be pretty significant, okay?
Yes.
That the kids were really truly in danger and that they were preventing them from leaving. And that's really dangerous to lock 4 kids in a room from the outside. What if there's a fire? What if mom has a medical episode? I mean, there's a million things that could go wrong, and you can't do that now. Is that what you understand? That's what is being said. Nothing to say it's true or not, but that's kind of
Yeah.
the
I mean, that's
idea.
what we're hearing. I, I don't know. It's got to be serious. It could be that.
Hmm.
I also wonder if they were able to get to the children, meaning to speak to them. The kids, the littlest one is like 3, I think, but there's like, I think the oldest is around 7 years old ish.
Hmm.
Um, could they have done a forensic interview and something came out there? Not
Absolutely.
necessarily a felony charge level, but
Hmm.
maybe, because I'm just wondering, would they really let the cops in the house with their kids currently locked in their rooms? Like, I'm
I
trying to
can't
figure out
imagine they would.
would that
I
make any sense?
can't imagine. No,
Um,
right.
or did they
I
see the
can't imagine
locks
they
and
would.
then
But
question the oldest child, like, so why are there locks on your doors? Like, do mom and dad put the lock on your door? I don't know. I'm not a
hmm.
forensic investigator, but so, certainly not for children. But I was like, could it have come out of any interview with the children? Um, or is it I don't know. Because if you go too sinister, you wonder why they didn't get charged with felonies.
Right.
So I don't
But
think
again,
cages, but or like tethers or something. That seems like that would be extreme.
that would be really extreme. That's more like that.
But but it's also really hard to remove children from a home. Like,
Yes.
we all know this from true crime. There can be
Hmm.
to us absolutely terrible conditions that a child is in, and CPS won't remove them.
Right.
So I don't know. And we don't
Yeah.
know they were removed, but we have heard they may have been.
We have heard that they may have been. And again,
Yeah.
this is all just all over social media. But I think it is not too difficult to understand that yes, there had to be some sort of restriction put on those kids to
For
get those
sure.
charges. So I
Yeah.
don't think it's a leap to say there were some a situation where the kids were locked in, whether
For sure.
they
Yeah.
saw them like that or if it was during an interview. I don't know the
Yeah.
situation if they can prevent their children from being interviewed or if they had to let their children be interviewed. I don't know.
Yeah,
Do
and
you
see,
have
that
any
makes me
idea?
think. I think they may have had to let them just because of the nature of his charges. Because the thing
Yes,
is, honestly, why wouldn't Anna have been put in jail years ago otherwise?
that's
Because
what I was thinking.
we were always told she withheld the children. But even if she didn't, even if all those rumors were not true about her not letting CPS,
Right.
get to her kids, and let's pretend that that wasn't true. You're going to tell me they didn't have locks on their door? Like, I think that's probably how they parent in this
Well, I do
group,
too. Yeah,
So
just through pure fear.
wonder, why wouldn't she have been locked up then? She didn't
Well,
get cuffs slapped on her.
maybe, and I don't know, because Joseph actually had a
Hmm.
living victim.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He
Yeah,
actually, yes, yes, the
and
charges are against him molesting a living person who he
right.
knows,
Yes,
not an
exactly.
abstract person on a screen,
Right.
whether
As
we know
awful as
who it
that
is or
is,
not. Yeah, it's some child he was familiar enough with to molest more than once in a week's time.
exactly. And so maybe that's why, because there was an actual living victim that was able to verbalize what was done to her. So they are
Hmm.
able to say, I would assume they would have to have some sort of warrant to be able to go in and say, we have a warrant to talk to your children because of what your husband is charged with. Because we could never, ever understand how Anna, Josh's wife,
Yeah.
could get away with not letting the kids talk to CPS. And that's what was always reported back then, was that
Yeah.
she never did. And maybe that's why, and maybe the laws have changed. Maybe they
Perhaps.
have
Yeah.
better ways of getting this. And again, we'll find all of this out when there is an actual trial. I can't imagine that Joseph would ever plead to this, but he has an attorney. Tell us a little bit about that attorney.
Oh, I don't know if he has an attorney yet. I actually
Oh,
haven't heard
okay.
that. What I did hear
Oh, I'm
was
sorry.
that,
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of his brother has a new
yes.
attorney. That's what I was
Now,
thinking. We'll
I
talk.
assume he
Yes.
will get an attorney, at least for
Yes.
his next, whatever his date will be when he finally gets to Florida and gets arraigned in Florida.
Right.
Kendra has a court date now of April 29th is on the docket for her
Right.
next court date. I assume she will also have an attorney present of some
And
kind. I don't
and she
think
has
she'll.
bonded. She bonded out, correct?
Right, pretty much immediately. She
Yeah.
was in jail, I think, 2 hours. I
Right.
doubt she was even in a cell. But Joseph, the weirdly calm call
Mm-hmm.
that they have in that jailhouse call. I don't know if you played that.
Yeah, I haven't.
We
Yeah,
had that
I'm
the other
looking.
day or not.
I'm
Now I
looking
can't
it up
remember.
right now. I'm going to
And
grab it right now.
first of all, Trisha, I legitimately thought that was Jim Bob talking
I
for a
did too.
second.
I
He
did too.
has the identical voice, even more
Mm-hmm.
than Josh. Josh really doesn't, like, his voice doesn't necessarily, he may use the same kind of phrasing they use, but his voice isn't identical to Jim Bob's. This was eerie to me. I thought, oh my word, for a second, I thought I was hearing Jim Bob speak.
Well, I'll tell
But
you what. I've got
yeah,
it right
okay,
here. I'm going to
great.
play it and just hold it up to the microphone.
Okay.
Okay.
Also today, 5 News obtained a phone call Joseph Duggar made after being booked and processed in the county jail. Take a listen. Hi there. This is Joe Duggar here. Yeah. I'm over here at the Washington. Yeah. You're not. Yeah. I didn't know if we needed to talk sometime about things or how the process works here on this side, or if you know anything. Well, yeah, the only issue. Well, you're there. You're in custody pending the issuance of a governor's warrant by state of Florida.
Okay, and that's it. So that did you guys hear that? Okay. Little Texan, did you hear that? Okay.
I heard most of it okay.
Did y'all hear
Ba-
that? Okay, in chat.
Basically, what's interesting is he sounds very blasé. He's kind of,
Mm-hmm.
hey, which is just total Jim Bob, the hey,
Right.
it's Joe. And then notice he doesn't say I'm in jail. He says, I'm in Washington County.
Yes. It's like,
Yep, you
really?
definitely are, but you're also in jail.
You're in jail.
Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know if my dad, that's the part where he's like, I don't know if you got the call from my dad or you heard from my dad. So that's our clue. Jim Bob's on this. This guy is probably some sort of family attorney,
Yes.
but I don't know that he's a sex offender attorney
Right.
per se. I mean, Jim Bob does so much real estate stuff. It could just be some guy from there. And you can kind of just tell that this guy he knows they're on a recorded jail line. And he
Yes.
is not going to say anything that could incriminate anybody. And
Okay.
it's
Well,
like
hold on.
he's just trying to speak.
Yeah, I'm going to play it again. So everybody listen carefully. I'm just trying not to use YouTube because I keep freezing whenever I go to YouTube. Let me try this one more time. I've got it turned up all the way. So here we go.
Also today, 5 News obtained a phone call Joseph Duggar made after being booked and processed in the county jail. Take a listen.
Hi there. Yeah. I'm over here at the Washington. You're not. We need to talk sometime about things or how the process works here on this side, or if you know anything.
Well, yeah, the only issue, you're there. You're in custody pending the issue of a governor's warrant by the state of Florida.
Okay, and that's it. Could you hear that, you guys? Could you hear anybody hear that? Okay. Anyone? Little Texan, could you hear it?
Yeah, it's easier to hear the lawyer or whoever that man is than
Yeah.
Joe. But literally, Joe is just, he's like, "Hey, it's Joe Duggar." And yeah, and and then the whole like, do you know anything about, what it's like to what over on this side, I guess that side of the
Yeah, and it's
jail.
like, yeah. And it was a bit hard. It was a bit hard to understand him because it's a jailhouse call.
Yes.
So,
But you
but
can
yeah,
tell that the guy on the other end is like, "Don't keep talking." Like there's this vibe of like, "Don't say anything, Joseph," and just
it's
kind
like,
of watch what
just
you're saying,
be
you
very,
idiot.
he's speaking
Yeah.
very deliberately, Joseph,
Yes.
calm down.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
You.
talked to my dad or
Yeah.
not. So,
Yeah.
so Jim Bob's trying to get him a lawyer.
Of course he is.
And yeah, absolutely. And Jesse Roblin says, I wonder if they have cameras in their home too, talking about Joseph.
Oh, I'm
And
sure they do.
yeah,
Because we
most,
know that the Duggars did. They
yeah,
bragged about it
absolutely.
throughout the show. Yeah, I'm certain they
Oh,
do.
I can't even imagine. I'm sure they have them all over the place. So we've got this going on. Joseph has waived his extradition, so he will be going back to Florida. Joseph and Kendra have both been charged with. They are not major charges; they're minor charges. What the hell are they called?
Misdemeanor.
No, misdemeanor. Thank you, misdemeanor. Misdemeanor charges, but they sound bad.
Yes, they
They
do. I mean,
just
it's to get a criminal charge like that, it has to be serious, even as a misdemeanor.
right.
I think it's not like the kids were imminently being actively bodily harmed or something, but
Right.
it's bad.
It's got to be bad enough for them to say that oh God, I can't believe I didn't have, let me pull these charges up. I didn't have them right in front of me. Hang on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
endangering the welfare of a child and false imprisonment. I
False
mean,
imprisonment. And to me, false imprisonment, it's got to be more than just locking a kid in a room. It's got to be like they're in a small room or
or
there's
closet.
something or closet or something that they have found. And I can imagine that may have come due to a forensic interview.
Possibly, yeah. I mean,
And
I'm sure we'll learn more eventually, but yeah.
mhm. And they could have had, like you said, cameras in their house. Maybe they got video. But and I love what Neil Campbell says: 14 bars and counting. Yes,
Yeah.
we can only hope that it's
Yeah.
14 bars. So Kendra will be going back to, and what is her next court date for?
April 29th will be, I don't know if that would be like a formal arraignment for her at
Mhm.
that time. Um, hopefully some more information will come out. I actually also have not looked up what those charges carry in terms of time. So
Mhm.
I thought I saw somewhere it was, I don't know if it's, a year each count or what it is. It could be much more than that.
Right.
Joseph's, interestingly, can carry quite a bit of time, not the
Yes.
misdemeanors, the felony. Florida, who knew? Well, I didn't know, is apparently very hard on sex offenders, which is great.
Great.
I was just so
Wonderful.
surprised to hear
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I
So,
hear
yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah,
And that's good to know. And they take it obviously very seriously. And
yeah. So there's
I'm
some
just
mandatory minimums there that are pretty high. He may get more time than his
in his
lovely older
brother.
brother. Hmm.
And what is shocking is he admitted it and apologized.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if he knew the detective was on the phone. I have not been able to figure that out. But again, the
No.
detective was on the phone, the father was on the phone with Joseph, and he admitted he did this and he apologized for it. And he said he wasn't having pure thoughts or something like that.
Yes,
And
yes.
do you know if he knew if the detective was on the phone or not?
I don't know. We don't know if he was Mirandized properly. There's a lot of things we don't know.
Right,
Uh,
right.
but he does clearly, from what I can tell from that call you were playing, not, at least at that time, seem to have understood the gravity of his situation.
Oh, I don't think he
So,
did at all. I
yeah,
don't think
I
he
think,
ever would have
he
admitted
was
it if he
raised
knew.
that you confess to your elders, you confess to
Hmm.
the church,
Yep.
maybe you apologize to the victim. I mean, Josh would probably say skip that step, but
Yeah.
then it's all forgiven. Because also remember, in their particular brand of religion, which
Hmm.
is not, to me, is not typical, all sins are equal. So there is
That's
not a
right.
greater or lesser sin hierarchy.
Hmm.
They're all the same thing. So if I go shoplift a pack of gum, that's just as terrible of a sin as molesting a 9-year-old. They're all
And it's
it's all bad.
unbelievable, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just
And if
unbelievable.
and if that's what you truly believe, because that's how you were
Hmm.
raised, well, then what's the big deal? I confessed.
I confess, and I'll be forgiven,
I'll
and
be
it's all
forgiven. Well,
good.
God has
Yeah.
forgiven me, clearly, obviously. I
Yeah.
asked and now I'm forgiven. And,
Exactly.
and the church is going to be fine with it. Maybe I'll go dig a ditch or something. But basically,
Mhm.
I don't understand what the problem here is. I've already said I'm sorry.
And that's how he acted to me, you know?
Yes.
Exactly. And yeah, Stephanie Ferraro, he thinks apologies are enough. And
Yep.
Brooker Rose says, I'm having a hard time trying to think of a situation where false imprisonment of a child doesn't cross over into abusive territory. And I agree 100%. And I
Like
know you
Turpin
do.
family stuff. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And but again, locking them up, it's got to be more than just, I think, just a lock on
Yeah,
the outside of
I
the
think
room.
so too, because you will also talk, hear about a lot of people with children who have special needs,
Hmm.
particularly autism in certain cases, where elopement is a really big risk. And that the
Yes.
risk of the child escaping the home, like at night,
Hmm.
but people do have to sleep. I'm not saying they should do this, but I've certainly heard of that. And I don't know if I believe that rises to the level of false imprisonment where you're torturing your
Right.
child. Maybe it does in the eyes of the law, but I can
Yes.
have a certain amount of empathy for parents who may not have a ton of great options in order that somebody doesn't have to stay up 24/7 watching a
Correct.
child. But
Right.
we don't have any evidence that Kendra, one, has any special needs children
Yeah,
or
right.
would have been even using it in an appropriate potential very short term manner, like
Yes.
when sleeping and not
Hmm.
all day long, or when you're mad, or because mommy doesn't want to deal with you for the next 4 hours.
Mommy's
I
having, yeah, a nervous
Yeah.
breakdown, can't take all the kids. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
And were
Um,
they being withheld food and things like, we just don't know. Those
yeah.
two dropped off social media pretty effectively about 3 or 4 years ago anyway. So we
Hmm.
haven't even the public hasn't even seen their children like on social media in years, this
Right.
couple. And the last child was sort of an unverified child until it got leaked online, it was a
Hmm.
little boy a couple of years ago. So they,
Right.
nobody has seen them really publicly.
I am so glad you keep track of this because there's no way I could keep track of all these Duggars. And
Oh
yes,
man.
Phyllis Jarrett, let's talk about Josh. Is Josh still serving time? Yes. How many more years
Blessedly,
does Josh
yes.
have? Yes.
I think
How many
close
more?
to 8. I think close
Okay.
to 8 now. He has
Hmm.
his next hearing on April 15th, I believe, unless it gets moved again. I'll keep you posted. I haven't heard yet, but since he likes to do things at the literal last minute, it's
Yes.
very possible that on April 14th, we'll hear about a continuation. But as of now, I believe it's April 15th for R. Kelly's lawyer and Josh to
Yeah.
have
And
some sort of court date.
let's talk about that. Josh has a new lawyer, and it's R. Kelly's lawyer. And let's talk about this because he's got some charges. He has some things he has to prove. And we talked about it the other night, but for the people that are new, tell us what Josh is up to this time. He's got a new lawyer. It is, like you said, it is R. Kelly's lawyer. And
Yes.
yeah, it's just crazy. And I want to welcome Samantha Van Waltzenberg. Thank you, my dear. I'm glad you're new. We're glad you found us. I hope you'll hit that subscribe button. So thank you and welcome. So what did Josh do that got the judge kind of riled up here?
So he was very late in
Mm-hmm.
filing his sort of Hail Mary last ditch effort that he was legally allowed to file 1 year after his case was considered fully adjudicated, which would
Mm-hmm.
have been it was late last June, so 2025. And he had, like, I think it was like June 24th. But of course, he didn't get anything filed by then. He was
Mm-hmm.
well over a month late. And then the court said, wait a second, we didn't get this even close to on time, but we give you a lot of leeway because the prison mail system can take a week or two and you're
Mm-hmm.
incarcerated. And, we understand, but as long as it went into the prison mail system by that date, whatever. And, oh, yeah, well, it totally did, says Josh.
Right.
No, it totally didn't. It wasn't postmarked at all. It was very clearly handed
Mm-hmm.
in with uncanceled stamps. So
Right.
someone had handed it to a clerk or something on the outside of prison. And then he
Mm-hmm.
followed it up a few weeks later with something that had gone through the US mail, but not the prison mail, that was
Okay.
supposed to be identical to the hand delivered package, according to Josh. But the court looked at it and said, these are not the same. So they are
Oh
now hauling
man.
him back into court, essentially, to say,
Mm-hmm.
you need to prove to us that this was mailed on time and this was received in a timely manner, because it wasn't received in a timely manner. So please tell us how it was. And then at the last minute, Bo Brindle, R. Kelly's lawyer, said, oh, I shall be his lawyer because
Mm-hmm.
someone hired me, probably Jim Bob, and I will take care
Right.
of representing him. But I think Josh still thinks he's going to go into this hearing not only winning his, somehow proving, the unprovable, but also
Right.
just relitigating his case at the same time.
Yeah, even though it's about the mail, not about
Yeah.
relitigating his case.
And they've
And
told
what
him that.
kills me, good, and I'm glad. But what kills me, little Texan, is again, when you look at the facts of the case, these are the very basic facts. He had a computer that had a program on it that made it so his wife could see what he was doing on his computer.
Yes.
He put a wall up that somehow circumvented that, and then he went and he downloaded CP. And you know what all that, just think about what that stands for. And according to the detectives, it was some of the worst CP they have ever seen, ever. And that is what he's charged with. And he is just saying that it wasn't me, it was somebody at work. It was his computer. They proved he was on the computer at that time. It was downloaded, but he's just keeps denying it. And of course, because he's a male, and in this cult, the men are the be all end all for everything. They keep
Yes.
defending him. And it sounds like Jim Bob. I mean, I can pretty much assure you that R. Kelly's lawyer costs a pretty penny.
Oh,
So Jim
yes.
Bob has ponied up the bucks for this guy to, I get, like you said, I think they think they're going to relitigate their case. And I think that's what he's going to try and do. It's not going to work. So we're going to have to wait and see who Jim Bob comes up with for Joseph's attorney, because obviously, according to the jailhouse call, he was talking to a lawyer and he said, have you been talking to my dad? Because daddy's stepping in again to help
Mm-hmm.
son number 2 that is charged with a crime, an essay type crime against a child. And they need to look at everybody. They need to look at all the men in that
Oh,
family.
how I wish that would happen.
I can't imagine why they won't. But again, we have to have evidence. But to me, the evidence
probable
is
cause.
this. Don't you think? The evidence is this. They're just that you have two families doing it, you know? Oh my gosh, McSpunky, thank you so much. Uncle Spunky, drive-by gifting and lurking. Thank you so much again. That's $10 to DNA Solves. You are
awesome.
such a sweetheart, McSpunky. Thank you. We love you so much. And yes, it definitely drive-by gifting. We love that. But to me, Little Texan, it's like, how many more victims do there need to be? Now, again,
Well,
it
that's the
should
sick
not be,
part.
well, and it should not be guilt by association. You shouldn't assume that all the men are guilty.
No.
But I think it behooves the state to step in and take a look to see there's something wrong with this family. It's very dysfunctional. It's very twisted and sick. And it behooves the state to protect the children. That would be how I would present it to a judge. Say, we need to protect the children. We're not saying anybody else in the family has this problem, and the first one we're starting with is Jim Bob, because we know, Little Texan, Jim Bob's father. Tell us about Jim Bob's father. That would be the Duggar kid's grandfather. Tell us about him.
So what we know about him, about J.L. Duggar, is that we were told by Jim Bob all those years when the show was on that he was an alcoholic. He was a lousy father, not a good provider, basically just a loser. But what we learned later, because he's been dead for many years, from Amy Duggar King, which is Jim Bob's niece and his only niece from his side, because he only has one sister and she only has one child.
Okay.
But she was extremely close with her grandma, the same grandma that all the Duggar kids, would have had, Mary. And for a while, apparently Mary and JL lived with Amy and Deanna at their home in Arkansas. And she has stated in her recent book that, she pretty much flat out calls him a pedophile, that he was an unsafe person to be around. She was instructed as a very young child, never be alone with Grandpa Duggar, never even go outside and like play ball with him. Don't let him drive you anywhere. Don't let him pick you up from anywhere. Keep your door locked at night. Speaking of door locks.
Oh my God.
Lock your doors at night. Yeah.
What?
And apparently the grandma would occasionally even, I guess, query her, like kind of checking, like, has grandpa bothered you or come in or, done it? Yeah. Lovely man. So
I'm sorry. If you knew your husband had the possibility of doing that, what would prevent you from wanting to kill him, let alone divorcing
nothing
him?
would
For
prevent
God's
me.
sakes.
I'm not married
Exactly. Me
either.
either. Me either. My God. Oh, you guys,
Yeah.
it just gets worse and worse. Yes, Grandma knew. Just call me Kim P. According to
Yeah.
Amy, which is Jim Bob's
Niece.
Jim Bob's niece. So again, this is what Jim Bob comes from. Okay, if we're to believe the niece, which there'd be no reason not to. So you need to start with Jim Bob and see what's going on with him, and they need to talk to all of the grandkids, and done by a forensic interviewer, somebody that knows how to talk to these children and get them away from their parents.
Well, and keep in mind all of his associates. So all these creeps in this cult, starting with Bill Gothard at the tippy top.
Yes,
he's
right.
He's a pedophile. I mean, again, they found him to be, convicted, charged, whatever, but he was known to be. And the daughters in particular would have been exposed to him because he really had a thing for young blonde girls with curly hair. And yep. And so the girls would go to those, I don't even know what to call them, retreats in Illinois.
God.
Yeah. I mean, some of the boys may have as well, but we know he molested girls, for sure. And then, the weird pervert cop that Josh got a talking to. So
Yeah, the cop that they said,
Jim Bob's.
Yeah, that Jim Bob's best buddy, hey, just talk to our son, straighten him out, will you? Because you're I think he was a highway patrol guy.
Probably.
And he ends up, he's now in prison, I think for life, isn't he?
I believe so, or a very long time, yeah.
For CP, basically. And so that's who they chose to try and teach Josh
It's
a
it's a
lesson.
feature, not a bug in this cult. These weird, perverted
Yes.
pedophile. I mean, but think about it. The men have all the authority, all the power, all the control.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes, they do. And
Of
it's
course, creeps are attracted to that.
yeah, and that who exactly if you're a creepy guy that wants to, attack children, that's going to be exactly where you go. And let's see, Prislam says, Trish, when Joseph was on the phone, he was actually talking to someone about bail, because I saw that and he was talking about bail. It got cut off.
I
It
didn't hear
could have
that
been.
part.
I didn't either. I thought he was talking about a lawyer. I thought he said something about a lawyer, but and it could be a
He's,
different part of the phone call
he
too.
still seemed very, what's the word even? I
Lackadaisical.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
he seemed like he was ordering a pizza. I mean,
Yeah.
it was, don't know. God forbid I would ever know how he actually should have felt. But I mean, I don't think it would be that. And
Well,
in bail, like, first of all, what was he even thinking that he'd get bail? He has to get extradited back to Florida.
to get
This is
bail.
the
Yeah.
disconnect here. Well,
Right.
God, I hope he doesn't get bail. But yes, if he does get it, it has to be out of Florida. So he
Mm-hmm.
clearly has no idea what is going on.
No. And he sounded like, yeah, hey, have you talked to my dad? I'm over here in
Yeah.
Washington County. And yeah, just tra la 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 la. That's what it sounded like,
Yeah. No gravity to this situation. Of course, he was also joking with that intake guard a little bit too,
Yeah.
but
He was kind of
just
joking with him. And it's
the
like, what the
levity of the
hell?
whole situation. I mean, he clearly thinks daddy's just going to pay a fine and I'm going to go home tonight and my kids will be back. And
Because
really,
I've
what is the big deal?
apologized.
I have apologized. I have confessed. It's all
Mm-hmm.
forgiven. What is with you people?
And
So,
that's what
yeah,
he has been taught
that's
and
what he's been taught.
trained to believe. And
And the women
boy, is
have to
he.
forgive. The girls are taught they must, first of all, they caused it, which is
Yeah, oh, it was
gross.
their fault. They
And
weren't doing
yeah, it's
something
their
to help
fault.
their,
Something,
yeah,
wearing something, breathing wrong, whatever,
right.
caused it.
Breathing wrong.
And
Right.
they have to accept the apology or possibly even
Mm-hmm.
apologize themselves for being
Right.
the temptress or whatever. But certainly they have to accept the apology. I mean, the
Yes.
man said he's sorry.
And you must accept it. And let's give a little bit of credit to that dad, even though he's in this cult apparently.
Yes.
But the
Yeah,
dad of that
probably.
young child called the police. There was no apology. No apology was good enough. Good for the dad. Good for the dad. So
Yeah,
again,
I know. I agree. I mean, the odds are super high he's in their
yes.
cult.
Oh,
I don't,
absolutely. He's got. I
because
mean,
it
why would you
happened
hang out
multiple
with these people?
times. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the odds that he would have encountered some random child once, I mean, maybe, but
Mm-hmm.
but not multiple times
Yeah.
over a week and got to know and seemed to know her. And I know
Right.
these people are terrible about not supervising, all these pervs with little kids,
Mm-hmm.
but he must have been familiar enough anyway that nobody would even think that it would be strange that he'd be sitting with a little girl or whatever, like even
With a
vaguely think.
blanket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how weird? If I saw an adult male with a 9-year-old and a
Who's
blanket,
not who's not his child
yeah,
particularly.
I would
Yeah.
be like, what the? I mean, I'd dive on that couch. I'd be a lunatic. I just, oh, guys, it makes me. This is why I don't go out of the house, little Texan. I go out of the house to get my once a week Powerball ticket, and that's it. I get dressed up. And by the way, if you're just joining us, my name is Trisha Griffith. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm the manager of Websleuths.com, the very best true crime discussion forum ever. This looks like my Hugh Hefner imitation of a smoking jacket or pajamas. I'm not sure which. It was supposed to be a fancy like suit, but I can't tell if it's pajamas or Hugh Hefner I'm trying to imitate here. And I
I
kind
like
of
it.
blend in. I mean, it's real comfortable and I blend in with the couch, but I looked at it, I just started cracking up because it's not what I thought it would be. So it's okay if you call me Hugh Hefner. I get it. It looks like I'm from the 50s, with a pipe or something. But anyway, absolutely. Kendra needs to divorce him or she won't be able to see her kids. And let's see, normal his or her grandparents. Yeah, I think if these charges stick against Kendra, I can't imagine that they would just let the kids go back there. Now, they may go back there under strict supervision, but I don't think they would go back there without. I mean, I can't. No, they've got to keep the kids away and then let them see the kids and let them work it so they know that they have changed their ways before they let the kids back in. That's what I'm saying. And
Mhm.
I don't think Joseph is coming home anytime soon.
I certainly
So
hope he's not.
yeah, I hope so too. So it's just going to be Kendra. But again, if Kendra is charged with this, well, then she's just doing what she's told by the men. Yeah, I really hope they just they just need to remove those kids. My God, I mean, you know.
I mean, the problem is, who do you put them with?
Well,
Because
yeah,
they're all everything is rotten in this
mhm,
whole extended family, and you don't want to take
yes,
kids away from some blood relative or
no,
familiar face if you don't have to. But who could you possibly trust in this extended circle?
I
It'd be extremely hard.
it would be, and I would hate to be put in that position to try and decide where these kids go.
Mm-hmm.
But they need to have a normal life, and I can almost guarantee you they have had anything but a normal life. If they are still teaching, which I can't imagine why they're not, that the women have to serve the man, and if the man strays, it's the woman's fault. That's what they teach them. It's because
Yes.
the woman isn't doing enough for the man.
Right.
Anytime a man fails, it's the woman's fault. It's unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable, you know? So, hey, Megan, good to see you, my dear. _verse. Haven't seen you for a while. Hope all is going well with you. Any final thoughts on the Duggars, little Texan?
Just stay tuned. I'm sure more is coming in some
Oh,
capacity, but hopefully
absolutely.
right now it's just these people's, court dates. I don't, until they actually extradite Joseph, no
Mhm.
word yet on it, his first court date in Florida, but I'll stay tuned to see what happens and let you know if I hear
And
anything.
you will keep us updated. Thank goodness for that. And because Stacy's taking the night off, you are going to join us. You've been following the Nancy Guthrie case, and
I have.
there has been so much drama. In fact, I need to pick up my little paper here. There has been so much drama with the sheriff. Sheriff Nanos has been his own little soap opera, you know? And people are upset because he drives a really fancy sports car and all kinds of stuff. But there's something that you told me before we went on the air, and I want to address it right now. And then we're going to get into the details. We're going to read what the Guthrie family has released. It's a new statement. It's very interesting what's in this statement. But there's been several very vocal people come out that have worked with Sheriff Nanos. There is a recall effort in effect right now. They're trying to gather the signatures to recall him. I think if they get enough signatures, it will work. People are so angry at him because of this case. When he talks to the media, he talks in almost a whisper. He talks almost like this, very calm, I'm going to be very calm and very dry and tell you what's going on. But what have you read and heard about, my dear?
So I've heard somewhere along the way, and it may have been, I don't remember if it was a current Pima County Sheriff cop or a former one on one of the many, interviews they've been giving over since this all started. But recently, I know at least one of them had commented that is someone asked if that's really how he talks. Like, it's the Michelle Duggar idea. Like, does he really
Right.
use that voice? Like, does he come into work and do that whole folksy whisper thing? And they very unequivocally said, no, that is not how he talks.
No.
He's actually known for shouting. He yells a lot. He definitely doesn't whisper when he's, in his day-to-day interactions with the sheriff's deputies. It's an act. It's a put on
Right.
persona, which is very believable to me.
It is. Yeah. Kelly J, the union rep, did another great interview with Duty Ron. In fact, right now I'm going to play you a short from Duty Ron. I love Duty Ron. He's great. And apologies if we freeze. Just keep listening because the audio doesn't freeze. It's just the video that freezes. It's very, very strange. So let me find that here really quickly. I just had it pulled up. Where did it go? And that's not it. Hold on. Just had it. Is this it? That's not it. I swear to you, I just had that. Oh, here it is. Okay. Let me do this. And this is Duty Ron with the, well, you'll see. Here we go.
Was there an additional vote of no confidence for Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, or was I imagining that?
No, that is correct, and we're going to announce it tomorrow morning, so I can kind of give you the inside scoop tonight. We took a vote, an additional vote. The last one was in 2024, so it'd been a few years, and particularly we did it in light of the recent revelations of his background. And I got a lot of angry calls from the members, and I figured it'd be a good time to take another vote. And so we're much bigger now than we were in 2024. We now represent over 300 members of the 395, I think, total commission. So we took a vote, and it returned unanimous. Last time it was, I think, 98%. This one was unanimous. It was not only no confidence, but it was no confidence and a call for him to resign. So we will be announcing that on our Facebook page and X page tomorrow morning, and sending those letters over to the Board of Supervisors. But a large majority of his own deputies are now saying with one voice that they have no confidence and are telling him that he should resign.
Was there an additional vote of no confidence?
Where is it?
For the public that we were trying everything.
Okay, let me tell you who this is. This is Sergeant Aaron Cross, and he's president of the Deputies Union. Okay, and so that's who he interviewed. And to have a vote of no confidence and a call to resign from the Deputies Union, that's pretty bad. That's really bad. Don't you think, Little Texan?
Yes, I hadn't heard about this most recent vote of no confidence.
Yeah,
So it's not good.
Not good at all. And again, this was Duty Ron. It was last night, I believe. So hang on just a second here. I want to put the link up in chat so you guys can watch the whole thing. We love Duty Ron. He's just fantastic, very trustworthy, just a good guy. So here's Duty Ron and that whole interview with Mr. Cross. Duty Ron talking about the sheriff. Now, I want to read a few things here and play a couple of other things as well. There you go. So let's read the statement from the family. Okay, let me grab that here really quickly. Let's see. Where is the whole statement? I just pulled it up. Oh, come on. Where is it? I hate this. I just absolutely hate this when I pull something up and then I can't find it again. Here it is. Let's see. Just a minute here. I've got it here. I promise I do. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Okay, we are deeply grateful for the outpouring from neighbors, friends, and the people of Tucson. We are all family now. We continue to believe it is Tucsonians and the greater Southern Arizona community that hold the key to finding resolution in this case. Someone knows something. It's possible a member of this community has information that they do not even realize is significant. We hope people search their memories, especially around the key timelines of January 31st. Now, that was the night, January 31st, February 1st, that she went missing, and the early morning hours of February 1st, right? As well as the late evening of January 11th. And I'm going to tell you why that's important here in just a minute. So January 11th, remember that. We desperately ask this community for renewed attention to our mom's case. Please consult camera footage, journal notes, text messages, observations, or conversations that in retrospect may hold significance. No detail is too small. It may be the key. Whoop, hold on just a second here. Amber Alert, Kearney, Texas. Hold on just a second here. Missing child from New Kearney, Texas. Eric Crenshaw, 17-year-old white male, last seen wearing a black hoodie, white sweatpants with the Grinch logo and cameo Crocs. Call New Kearney Police Department with information. If seen, call 911. I don't know. It says child abduction, but it doesn't have any other information than that. So there we go. And we'll continue reading this family statement here. We desperately ask the community for renewed attention to our mom's case. Please consult camera footage, journal notes, text messages, observations, or conversations that in retrospect may hold significance. No detail is too small. It may be the key. We miss our mom with every breath, and we cannot be in peace until she is home. We cannot grieve. We can only ache and wonder. Our focus is solely on finding her and bringing her home. We want to celebrate her beautiful and courageous life, but we cannot do that until she is brought to a final place of rest. Thank you for continuing to pray without ceasing. So that is the family message right there. It's very, very sad. And they obviously are saying that they know she is dead now. But January 11th, that has been brought up before, and the sheriff has been asked about that many times, and he has just been adamant that January 11th has nothing to do with anything. But the FBI have been going around asking neighbors about January 11th. And now Nancy's family has it in a statement, January 11th. Okay, now I want to read something here to you. Let's see, is this it? Let's see here. Sheriff and Nancy Guthrie case clarifies investigative timeline. All right, so let's see here. In a statement released on March 22nd, Savannah Guthrie and her family also mentioned the January 11th date. Okay, so remember that. That's very, very important. During a segment on the Today Show today, NBC News correspondent shared that Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos explained the significance of the January date and why authorities made the footage request to Nancy Guthrie's neighbors. The sheriff said Google initially told investigators that a surveillance image of the suspect in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, this was the masked man who was seen in Guthrie's front entrance, was from January 11th. The date is 20 days before Guthrie was allegedly abducted from her home. But Nano said the tech giant later retracted its statement on the surveillance footage, adding that Google told police it could not definitively peg the photo to that day. Per NBC News, Google and the FBI have not commented on the timeline of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Okay, so let's back this up. The sheriff was adamant ever since anybody brought up January 11th, that January 11th, no, has nothing to do with anything. Well, now he's telling us this story that at first Google said, yes, this was January 11th. And now Google is saying, well, we can't say for sure it's January 11th. And remember, it was a picture of, gosh, and I should have had it handy and I don't, a porch guy, but he doesn't have his backpack. He doesn't have his gun, but he's all dressed so you can't see him but his eyes. And now the sheriff is saying that, okay, yes, Google did say it was January 11th. Then why was he denying it was January 11th all those times? Well, he was denying it, absolutely denying it. And now he's saying, well, now Google has come and said that they can't say for sure it's January 11th. Okay, they can't say for sure it's January 11th, but they didn't come out and say it absolutely is not January 11th. Why does it have to be so complicated? Why not just say, please, everybody, look at your footage. Look at your camera footage from January 1st on. Is there somebody that you see creeping around wearing something like this? Is there somebody creepy that isn't wearing anything, but they're looking into your yard, into your neighbor's yard? Why does it have to be so complicated? Little Texan, am I nuts here?
No, this is weird. I mean, everything that this sheriff, he talks out of both sides of his mouth all the time. I tend to take what he says with a giant grain of salt and often just kind of outright dismiss the things he says because he's so unreliable. He's just a very unreliable narrator in this entire situation.
He is. And like Neil Campbell says, he's a complicator. This makes it so complicated because, again, he had been saying ever since January 11th was brought up, he's been saying that is not true. That is not true. Well, why didn't he at least come out and say, here's what happened? Google said at first it was January 11th. Now they're not sure. Why didn't he just come out and say that then? Or had Google not come out then and said that comment?
It's hard to say. Sometimes I wonder how much he even knows and how much the FBI keeps from him.
Hold on just a second. My
Sure.
my AI just went off and started talking to me.
It's speaking to you.
Yeah, that's creepy. But anyway, so again, it's like, what the hell, man? Either Google said this to you when the January 11th was first mentioned. You knew then that Google was saying, we can't say for sure if it was January 11th. Why didn't you tell us that then? Or did this Google statement just come out recently and you were denying that Google, because they originally said January 11th. So were you denying January 11th when Google had actually said it was January 11th? I hope I'm making myself clear. It's just absolutely nuts. Now, I do want to play something for you. Let me grab it here. Let me grab it. Well, okay. I want to play a little bit of Brian Entin, and then we're going to wrap it up tonight. I need to go over a theory that our mad chatter, the Thoris. Now, you all remember the Thoris, right? She worked for many, many years in Vermont with offenders in prison. And she called me the other day. We had a 2-hour conversation. And she has convinced me at not directly who did this, but the type of person who did this. And it is a fascinating look into the mind of these men who target senior citizens for this essay, for this attack. They specifically look for these women. And we're going to talk about a case real briefly that is almost exactly like Nancy Guthrie's, but it happened in Vermont. And that guy just got his court date today. And after I'm done telling you what the Thoris told me, if you were thinking like I was, that it was a crazed fan of Savannah's, or it was somebody that was obsessed with Nancy because she was Savannah's mother, that's what I thought. I no longer think that. I think it is one of these offenders who target senior citizens, female women that are old, and live alone, that are very, very elderly and live alone. This is what they want. And it is so dang creepy, I can't even begin to tell you. But what I'd like to do now is for the next 10 minutes or so, I want to play you the latest from Brian Entin. We love Brian Entin, people. He's got a new video up. It's about 45 minutes long. He did this a few hours ago. We're going to play just a little bit of it, but it has some really, really good information. And then I'm going to tell you about the Thoris and her theory. And Little Texan, I want you to weigh in too after we hear from Brian Entin, okay? And again, everybody, if I freeze up, just listen. The audio won't freeze. It's just us. And then we'll eventually catch up, okay? So here we go. And Bipolar Express, I will be very, very cautious in my wording of this, but it is something that we need to know. I had no idea these type of sickos existed. Like, this is a real thing, and it is absolutely disgusting, but I will be very, very cautious in my wording, okay? So let's listen to Brian Entin here. Let me grab his video, and we'll go from there, everybody.
To subscribe. I really, really appreciate all of the support and you guys following me and supporting my channel. Today is day 51 in the search for Nancy Guthrie. She vanished from her home right outside Tucson, Arizona on February 1st. A really, really interesting episode today. This to me was one of the more interesting ones that I've done lately because you're going to hear my full interview with Rick Castigar, who really knows the sheriff and knows Pima County unlike anyone else I've interviewed, I would say. And that is because Rick was the sheriff's boss for decades. The Sheriff Nanos, Pima County Sheriff, was actually under Rick when he was in leadership at the sheriff's office for decades. Then Rick supported him in running for sheriff. Sheriff Nanos won, and then Rick was actually his chief deputy, his under sheriff. But things went south between them, and he's going to explain that in this episode. But he has a very interesting perspective, not only on Sheriff Nanos and what is happening behind the scenes, because he was, again, with the department for 40 years up until pretty recently, but also on what he thinks of the Nancy Guthrie case, what he thinks happened. He tells me his theory based on everything he knows on what he thinks happened, why he thinks that there was never a major search for Nancy Guthrie, which I asked him extensively about because it's been something that's confused me. Yes, there was a search in the beginning. Remember, they brought the dogs out for 1 or 2 days, it seemed like, but we've never seen really a major search for Nancy in the desert out there. And he explains why he thinks that's the case. And we basically just go through everything that's happened, and his take on it, again, is really fascinating because of his perspective. 40 years with the Pima County Sheriff's Office, most of that time spent being Sheriff Nanos's boss. I think you guys will be interested in everything he has to say. That's coming up in a second. What I also wanted to let you know about is, remember, there's this recall where they are trying to recall the sheriff, essentially throw him out of office. The Pima County Board of Supervisors, I was just going over their agenda. They have a meeting tomorrow. So today is Monday, tomorrow is Tuesday, where in their executive session, it says that they will be having a discussion regarding recently reported issues concerning Sheriff Nanos's work history and apparent related false statements and related personnel management, internal affairs investigations, or other issues in the department. Sorry, I forgot my glasses and this text is really small. So they're going to talk about Sheriff Nanos in executive session tomorrow. So I'll follow up on that tomorrow. It's kind of interesting because he's an elected official. I mean, the sheriff is elected. It's a powerful role anywhere, especially in Arizona. So it's not like the Board of Supervisors can just throw him out. But it's my understanding they do control the budget. So it's interesting that's going to be on their agenda tomorrow. But I want to get to this conversation that I had with Rick Castigar again. He was the chief deputy at the Pima County Sheriff's Office about all of the latest developments involving the Nancy Guthrie case.
Rick, it's nice to see you again. Thank you for joining me. Last time I saw you, I was riding around in your car, sort of getting the lay of the land of Tucson. And then you were out of town for quite some time. And I'm interested to catch up with you and get your perspective on some of the things that have been happening for the last month or so. The first thing I wanted to ask you, Rick, is I was actually up last night kind of thinking about this. Why do you think we never really saw anyone searching for Nancy? I mean, there were initially, I remember they called in Bortak, like, I think it was like day 1 or 2, very briefly, but there was never a big grid search. There was never like a coordinated search.
Well, I think that's a valid point. And one of the concerns that a lot of people have had related to the way this operation has been handled. And I think your viewers and you know full well I have some serious concerns. By the way, thanks for having me back. I appreciate the fact that you want to talk to me. And as you well know, I've been retired from the organization for a couple of years now, but I did serve there over 46 years, and I know the players intimately. That said, you're talking about a grid search. Initially, the case was handled as though this was an elderly woman who walked away from her home. That was the initial response for the first, perhaps 18, 24 hours or so. And that did involve a search. There were search and rescue components on the ground, some on foot, some on horseback, and of course the helicopter. That didn't really find anything, but as soon as the sheriff's department saw the initial evidence, and now we have the luxury 7 weeks out to understand what that is, it became very clear, at least to me, that this was a very sophisticated abduction. And when I use that word sophisticated, I don't use it lightly, because the preparation that took place of the individual or individuals that committed this crime is evident in the video that we've seen. It's evident in the scene itself. And even the sheriff has concluded this was an abduction. That's not rocket science, but it's scary because we don't know what the intent was initially. I have some guesses. And there were, getting back to the grid idea, the grid search itself, one of the things they want to do is look very carefully from the point of origin, which would have been her home, and perhaps any evidence that led 360 degrees around her home, footprints, articles of clothing, things she might have been carrying. Of course, then the next step would be, well, where would she logically go? Has she done this before? But as we became well aware, she had the mental faculties and sharpness of a much, much younger person. Her family told investigators that up front, and the need for a ground search was put on the back burner. That's the way I see it, spiraling forward.
But even weeks later, or even now, and I think to Savannah's or the Guthrie family statement that just came out in the last 24 hours, and it's so sad, but they seem to be acknowledging that Nancy is probably not with us anymore. And I think most people have kind of sadly come to that reality. But why wouldn't you still do some kind of search? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can tell me, you had so many years in law enforcement, but like, wouldn't you still do some kind of search to see if there's a grave, to see if there's a body somewhere? Or is it just too vast, the desert?
Well, to do it now would be difficult at best because the weather, wind, there's been rain here in this part of the country during the 7 weeks she's been missing, and that obscures anything you might find. But of course, you ask about a grave, but what would be the motivation of an individual to abduct her from her home and then take her somewhere, presumably with the intent to gain something, and we don't know what that is. A lot of us surmise it has to do with some financial gain. But what would be the purpose of burying her if she passed near the home? That doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's not a likely scenario. There's several others that you and I have explored that I've shared with you. I know that the sheriff's department has information they cannot reveal, and they will not, just to maintain the integrity of the case. But ground searches were conducted, several of them considerably later than one would have hoped, because they found gloves, plural. They found a glove that belonged to somebody working at a nearby restaurant. And that kind of doesn't make sense. Apparently, there's some association between other evidence and an Uber driver. I know that they've interviewed, you reported at one point, the FBI SRT team went out and interacted with somebody who was an Uber driver. That didn't produce anything concrete. And they've taken steps to be as careful as possible. But as you've heard from me before, I don't think the right things were done initially. And I think the outcome, it may or may not have changed if certain things were done initially. Regardless, they're still pursuing this.
Okay, and we're going to listen to a little bit more, but I wanted to thank Kathy Lynch. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. She says, please click that like button. It really helps the channel. Come on, friends, you can do it. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much. And again, any money from a super chat, from a super sticker, from you just watching, any money that goes to this YouTube channel goes directly to DNAsolves.com. That you go to that website, you will see they're trying to raise money for those expensive DNA tests that need to be done on the remains that have been found so they can go home to their families. So all of the money raised goes to DNA Solves. Let's listen to Brian Entin for just a little bit more, and then we'll come back and discuss what he has said. And again, I've put the link in chat to this whole interview. It's about 45 minutes long. We're just going to listen to a few more minutes. Here we go.
Albeit a much smaller investigative entity, but they're still pursuing this.
You mentioned things that they're holding back, law enforcement. I know you don't work there anymore, but you did work there for more than 40 years, which is amazing, by the way. Do you think that there's a lot they're holding back? Because I've kind of struggled with that. Like, do you think there's things that they saw inside the house, like big, details that they are specifically not telling the public? Or do you think by this point that stuff would have gotten out?
Well, I think a lot of it has gotten out, but you say big details, and that's kind of a subjective term, what big means. But the purpose of withholding information on a case is so that the investigators, when they do have a person in custody, and let me take the example of this Uber driver, the guy that the FBI went and talked to. They have information that only the bad guy would know, or perhaps the family. And that has to be withheld, because if at some future point we discover who committed this crime, there are ways to interrogate that person and try and deem specifics that only that person would know.
Right.
And then that adds credibility to that person's story. There are somebody in an interview with me one time called them clowns, and I think that's probably the perfect description. But there are individuals out there who purport to be the ones who did the crime, but they don't have the level of detail that law enforcement is withholding, and it can be easily disproved that somebody's come forward and said something and it's not valid. And that's really the reason, the critical reason. And then of course you've got if and when this ever went to a court, you have to be able to prove what information that person has and what you know. DNA is a classic, serious piece of evidence today. It didn't exist when I started out as a foot cop, but it does today. And that has expanded beyond just the actual DNA and somebody to compare it to. It's now gone beyond familial relationships and DNA databanks that have close enough information to steer investigators toward some narrower scope. I believe that they have that. I believe they have some DNA that it can't be compared to an individual because they don't have the individual, or that individual had never been arrested for a serious enough crime for the DNA to be in the database. But they've got something that might tie into family level and draw investigators toward singling out who may have done this.
So based on all your experience, and you mentioned, there are things that you don't know, there are things we don't know, but based on all your experience, what is your theory now? Because I talked to you early on. Is there one hypothesis you have based on the facts that we know?
Here's a couple of things, and I'm going to take us, if you don't mind, Brian, through the chronology of what happened and what we know. One of the first critical things we saw was blood on the porch, and I think your team reported that. Secondarily, the FBI gets involved, thank goodness, and we see that there was a video camera that did record an incident, a suspicious or a individual who covered his identity walked up. If you watch that video carefully, you'll see him approach slowly and with his right shoulder toward the camera and his turning to his left with his head. That tells me he knew where the camera was. That tells me that perhaps this, and that's when I underscore the word sophistication, that this individual had that information in his mind when he walked up to that front porch.
And that actually goes right into the theory that I'm going to explain to you here in just a moment. But little Texan, you heard that again. That's just a snippet of the whole interview, and I've put the link in chat. I will also put it in the description as well tonight. What did you think of what this gentleman was saying?
Oh, he's very interesting.
He
Yeah, I'm
really
definitely
is.
going to listen to the rest of that later.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it, everybody. So let me put it in chat one more time. What the heck? Did it just go away all of a sudden? Oh my gosh, I think it did. Hang on. Let me grab it. Oh, there it is. Okay, here we go. So you can finish the whole thing with Brian Entin. Here we go. And I want to show these pictures, and then I need to tell you this theory because I've been trying to tell you for 3 nights. Okay, so Kelly J just sent me these pictures that have been put up by Nancy's house in her neighborhood. But can you tell me, Kelly J, where you got these pictures? I'd like to post them on Websleuths, but I have to have a link to show where they came from. So let me show you these pictures right now. Very strange, very, very strange. In fact, I'm going to take you backstage here for just a minute, little Texan, so we can make these a little bigger, but they're kind of hard to see here. But they don't, here's the thing, they don't make any sense. It says Guthrie and she might Yavapi. I mean, it's just a bunch of something, and then sheriffs. It has the word sheriffs there, and then lemons and roads. It's just bizarre. Okay, it's just really, really bizarre. But Kelly J, if you could just tell me where those came from, that would really help me out a lot. Okay, so there we go. Let me bring little Texan back up. Let me go to comments here. Let's see. Yeah, because I'd love to put those on Websleuths, but I can't just post them without posting where they came from. Okay, you heard the gentleman that Brian Entin was interviewing talk about how that guy came up and turned his shoulder, and he knew where the camera was. Well, let me tell you about the Thoris, okay? The Thoris told me about a case. Now, where did oh my gosh, you guys, where'd it go? Oh, come on. You saw me have that. I cannot believe this. I have the whole thing right here. Where'd it go, guys? Where did it go? I tore the page out so I could read it. Oh my gosh. Can you hang on just a second? Let's see. Hold on. It's got to be here, guys. It's got to be here. It has got to be here. Oh my gosh. You guys, I had it in my hand and I set it down to read it, and now it is absolutely vanished. Hang on. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. I can't believe this. Where did it go? Yes, where'd it go? Oh my gosh. Are you guys sitting on it? No. I can't. Okay, that's just weird. That is just flipping weird. I had it in my hand. I went and I picked it up and I held it. I give up. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, wait. Aha. Come here, bug. Bug. Good Lord. Ah. Yuck. Bug. Bug, what are you doing? I set it next to me and he used it as a little pad. Okay. Excuse me, Scrappy Joe. Oh boy. Little Texan, aren't you glad you stayed on tonight?
We
Good
need a
Lord.
little levity. I'm happy the dog could provide some.
Yeah, yes, they did. This was right under his rear end here. Oh boy. Okay, you guys, I'm going to be very, very careful how I say this. We could major trigger warning. Okay, but the Thoris worked with offenders of the SA kind, and it was horrible. She worked in Vermont, and she said that this is what these guys talked about were older women, much, much older women, senior citizens that lived alone. This is what they fantasized about. This is what they searched for, were these women, these horrible, god-awful men that should never, ever be left out, let out, ever. And there is a guy named Darren Martell who just got a trial date for murder. Okay, this is in Vermont. And he murdered a woman named, let's see. Hold on just a second. Rhonda Martin. And she was 82 years old. And he lived in a trailer by her house. Okay. And he had done like some work for her. He was a contractor. And he planned this. He went in. She was alone. He broke in 2023. Did what he had wanted to do, and then killed her and burned her and buried her. And it is, the Thoris said, this is so similar to what looks like could have happened to Nancy. And God, I hope not. I hope to hell not. But think about the guy. He went and he January 11th. I still think that's when that picture was taken. I think that's legit, where he's standing there. He's standing there January 11th. And let me, he's just standing there. Let me find the picture. I have it right here. He doesn't have his backpack. He doesn't have his gun. He's just standing there. Let me grab it. Hold on just a second here. Okay. Oh, please. Where? I swear I'm going to lose my mind, little Texan. I had this pulled up, ready to go. And my computer has a mind of its own. It really does. It just absolutely will take okay. It will take all of my things that I have up here ready to go, and then it will just remove them. And it makes me crazy. Okay, let's see. Alcala, statements, Kendra. Here we go. No, that's not it. That's not it. Sorry, guys. Talk amongst yourselves for just a moment. Because I had that picture of the guy here. Okay, here it is. Is that the night he didn't have his backpack with him? Yeah. Because again, he doesn't have it on his shoulders. Okay, here we go. Let me show you this picture. Okay, hang on. Okay, this is very important. Okay, look at the one on the right here. Okay, he doesn't have his backpack. Okay, he's just standing there. All right. Now, the one on the left, he's got his backpack. You can see him. He's walking up to the door. But there he's just standing there. Okay. Now, why do you think he did that? Well, as the Thoris pointed out, as she learned from these horrible offenders that she had to work with, he was testing that camera. on the 11th, and maybe on another date too, testing to see if any alerts were given. Now, this was done on a Saturday night, okay, which I believe that she was at her daughter's and son-in-law's house for dinner, January 11th, and he's standing there. He's waiting to see if there is any reaction. Does a neighbor come running over? Do the police come? Do Annie and her husband come charging up in the car? Nothing happens. And he probably did it a few more times just to make sure. He knew that that doorbell camera was not connected to any sort of notification system. That's why he just went and stood there. And when the Thoris brought that up to me, I thought, oh my God, that just makes absolute perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. He just stood there to wait and see, because if it had been connected in any way, shape, or form to some sort of notification system, something would have happened, and he could have taken off in time. You know, he knew what he was doing. And she said, that's what these guys do. That's what these guys do. That's what this guy in Vermont did with this poor older woman. He plotted it out and planned it out. And his name is Darren Martell. And he is a young guy, just like probably this guy is. And again, it's so hard for me to believe that there's actually predators, that this is what they go after. Now, why take Nancy with him? It's all about the DNA. He needed to get rid of the evidence. And that's why. And the Thoris said, you know, they should think about like any young guys that live around there that you know, work odd jobs, like this one guy, Chris Martell, living in a camper by this older woman's house. Was there somebody that was, you know, living in a camper, living in a trailer around the neighborhood, did odd jobs for people, things like that? She thinks it's a really young guy, and she was convinced that standing there, waiting to see what happened. Why else would he go there and stand in front of the camera like that? There's no notification, none. And why take Nancy with him? Because of the DNA. And it is horrifying to think that there are men, young men like this, that this is what they want. This is what they look for. And the Thoris said, again, it's because she had to deal with these men for so long that she really feels like she knows them. And what a horrible thing. And, you know, it's really affected her. But they need to think about who around there. What young man has been around there? What young man maybe lives kind of a nomadic lifestyle? Again, just to look at, not saying that they're the one that did this. But what about the ransom notes? Well, I've always wondered if those ransom notes were real. Now, according to the sheriff, oh yes, they're real, they're connected. But you know what? I've lost confidence in anything he tells me. And I so want this not to be the case. My God, it is the worst possible scenario ever. And Spam Mama, she brought that up too. How did he get her out of there? She said that these guys would do that. They would remove the victims. And they would use dollies. Now, remember, there were tracks, and they said, oh, those are just tracks from the garbage cans. She said, no, what if it was a dolly? What if it was a dolly? That would make a lot of sense. And then I said, well, wouldn't the sheriff know the difference between dolly tracks and a garbage can track? I don't know now. But that's what they do. He probably had a van of some sort, an old van, or a big vehicle that he could use. She feels he acted alone. Maybe not. But the way she described it, it was so compelling that, and again, the whole time I have just felt like this is connected to Savannah. It's some freaky weird guy with Savannah, or it's somebody mad at Nancy for political reasons. It was one or the other with me. Never in a million years did I think it would be this. But after talking to her and looking at this other case, which is just so, and like Spam Mama brought up, there's another case exactly like it in California too. These predators are out there, and it is terrifying. And they focus on older senior citizens because that's their thing. So I don't know, guys. Bipolar said she walked out with him holding her. The blood spray from aspiration proved she was alive. And that could be, absolutely, you're absolutely right. That could be. That would make sense too. He could have had a gun on her. Absolutely could be. But again, you know, it's so hard to know with what the sheriff has said. But that's what they have said, was that she walked out with him holding her. Maybe she was alive. Maybe there was a dog. Oh God, I don't even want to think about it. But after hearing how adamant these predators are when it comes to older women, it makes me sick to my stomach. And I so want to be wrong. I so want to be wrong. Yeah, that's true. None of these cases sent ransom letters. But again, remember, they found out really quickly it was Savannah's mother. And I think that's why they did that. And I think that the sheriff told him, oh yeah, this is legit. This is legit. And maybe there was something in there that connected Nancy to that. No, I don't know. Again, we just don't know enough. And I have trouble trusting this sheriff anymore. I was like his defender for so long, but I just can't. I think this could be the ransom note, I just think was just, hey, it's somebody rich. I want to try and get something. Maybe this guy told one of his buddies, hey, you want to get a ransom? Here you go. Try getting some money out of it. Who knows? Again, who knows? Yes, Kathy Lynch, unfortunately, that's true. I didn't know this either until I talked to the Thoris. And again, he's actually worked with these people, these monsters, for many, many years in prison. So, and I've always felt like the ransom note was just an opportunity. So anyway, I'll put the link up to this Martell monster. He literally just got his court date today. And this happened like 3 years ago. But that makes sense with him standing there like that and waiting to see if there's any reaction. Like if that happened at my house, if I was out, if I ever had a life in, you know, before I die, if I get a life and I actually leave my house and I get a notification that there's somebody standing there like that, you damn well bet there's going to be people in there within minutes. That's what he was waiting for. But it was so secluded that he could probably see somebody coming and get away quickly. But I don't know. I don't know. Again, I so want to be wrong. I so want the Thoris to be wrong because it is the worst possible scenario. Little Texan, I need to go to you. Your thoughts?
Oh, I think it's a good theory. I've heard that theory before, that, or the stats before, that the older the victim, the younger the perp.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be
God.
it could be a teenager. I'm not saying this particular guy on the porch looks like a teenager, because I personally don't think he does, but it can be as young as a teenager, very young man. They tend, yeah, it's weird. It's
Mm-hmm.
very young, guys. Yeah, I mean, I tend to think she left alive, but I also don't think it would be that hard to convince her to leave alive if you were
Right.
threatening her family, if you were threatening her little grandson that lives 4 miles away. If you
Mm-hmm.
know, because they could know just enough. It doesn't have to be a stalker of the family per
Oh,
se,
it
but
could
he
just be
was on
somebody in the neighborhood.
television over the
Right.
years. They
Right.
all they have to do is Google her and find out who she is
Mm-hmm.
and say, "Oh yeah, she has family that lives here. She's a famous daughter." He could have threatened all kinds of things to get her out of
Absolutely.
the house. And what mother is going to be like, "Well, that's fine. I'll sacrifice my children to you." I mean,
Yeah.
nobody's going to, well, unless you're a Duggar, nobody's going to say that.
Oh my God,
So,
unless you're a Duggar. Like, you're right. You're absolutely right. No, you're right.
so I'm just saying,
Yes.
trying to put myself in Nancy's shoes. I mean, yeah, if you're
Mm-hmm.
threatening my family and you have a
Right.
gun on me, uh, maybe I'm going with you as much as I wouldn't want to.
Right.
I don't know.
Exactly. And I'm sorry, I should have gone to you sooner because people are going, "Where's little Texan?" I'm like, "Oh
I'm
my
here.
God." She thinks I'm just leaving her alone. But
No, I think the theories are, I do have a sinking feeling this was that type of motive. The guy
oh,
was awfully covered up, which makes me
yes,
think, was he going to take her alive and then continue his dastardly, gross
deeds.
crimes and,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately resulting in her death,
Oh
but
my
do it
God.
elsewhere? I don't know. Who knows?
I don't want that to be true. But I'm so disappointed in the sheriff
Oh,
because,
yeah.
and I'll say this, and little Texan, I'll let you have the last word, then we got to go. But um, he had a whole army of people from all over the world,
Hmm.
not just including Websleuths.com, which he always had, but everywhere. This was the #1 story. It was massive. If he would have released the right information, it could have triggered somebody's memory. We could have caught him. I really believe we could have caught him.
Hmm.
Now, who knows? I just think, I feel like now, in my opinion, and I'm happy to change my mind if something is shown differently. But Lil Texan and everyone, I feel like he's got this problem with sharing, like a little
Mm.
kid. He cannot share anything, no information, nothing. Uh, what do you think, Lil Texan?
Oh, absolutely. No, it's been so botched in so many ways. Believe Aaron Cross, who was on that video you showed from Duty Ron. I believe he's
Mm-hmm.
the one I also heard. I don't know. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about Ashley Banfield, but I
Oh,
believe a
absolutely.
couple of
Yeah.
nights
Oh,
ago.
no, we can. Yes.
I mean, there are things that she says I disagree with, and there are things
Yes.
that she says that I agree with. So it
Mm-hmm.
goes both ways. But she's generally okay when she interviews people. And she interviewed him just recently. And he said that the deputy who was assigned to this case initially was a homicide detective with just 2 years of experience.
Right.
And he was
Very
on it
young.
for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. I mean, no dissing to the guy, but he doesn't have the background or the experience. And although they've lost a lot of their good people over the years, they
Yes.
do still have more experienced homicide detectives. And somehow this case didn't get that,
I
at least
don't.
not at the beginning.
No, you're 100% right on that. And again, that's something that needs to be looked at. And it is on the sheriff. And when you hear what these two people, like the one that Duty Ron interviewed and the one that Brian Entin interviewed, I
Hmm.
mean, the things they say, you're just like, damn, that
Too many
guy is,
people saying it. It's not just
yeah,
one disgruntled employee or some person who had a personal issue with. This is everybody.
yeah,
Really,
exact.
nobody, even the people who don't have terrible things to say, they don't really have nice things to say
Well,
about the
yeah,
sheriff.
I'm trying to find somebody that goes, he's a good guy
He's
and he works hard
wonderful. Yeah.
and I've been defending him, saying, "Hey, look, nobody expects to find themselves in this situation, and you're thrown into this mass media
Sure.
craziness, and you don't now know how to feed the beast." But yeah, no,
Except we've seen other sheriffs in many cases over the decades who also were not expecting to be in this situation and who rose to the occasion.
yes,
And
they
many
did
were a
rise,
lot younger with a lot less experience than he's supposed to have.
and I think those ones that you and I have seen, it's because they know how to share
Hmm.
information
Team
and they're not
players.
afraid. Yes, They're not afraid to bring other people in. They're not afraid to let the information out. This
Yep.
guy has held everything in.
Yeah, and then he somehow terrifies the community at the same time. So,
Yeah,
worry about everything, lock your doors. He's coming for you
exactly.
next. It's just bizarre. He's a strange man.
Exactly. And yes, Kelly J, she has been telling me from day one that the sheriff doesn't deserve a defense, and I was trying to defend him, but I just can't anymore. She was absolutely right.
Yeah, it's too many people at this point. Too many people saying he's not good at his job and he's not a good boss. And any of us who've ever had a really bad boss, I think we have the vibe of
Oh,
what this may have
uh,
been like.
yeah. And the difficulty. And yeah, like
Mhm.
like Levin Coco said, he's had something like 8 suspensions. But what really got to me was this January 11th. This,
Mhm.
absolutely insisting that January 11th was not the date. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, it obviously was at some point,
And
but he
now
was,
Savannah is putting it in her statement,
yes.
but it's 2 months later. Do people
Exactly.
still have that footage? Do they
I
do they
wouldn't, even though,
remember?
yeah, even though I have it saved, mine only saves for 30 days,
Mine
you
too,
know?
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it yeah.
I know. It's just, it's sad because so much time has been lost. And I get not giving out information, but hey, they went and bashed the door in of 2 different people,
Yeah.
so they weren't afraid to do something if it needed to be done. But why them? What the hell did they do?
I think
Was it
their
just
phones pinged in that area.
I think that's it. I think it was
I
just
mean,
their
there may
phones
have been a
being,
little more, and they
yeah,
had criminal records likely for sure.
right,
That Luke guy did. And the other guy may have had
exactly,
some sort of record of, nothing terrible, but something.
right.
And they kind of looked like the guy in the mask, maybe sort of, if you squint. And yeah, I don't know.
I know. It's crazy. But Little Texan, you have been just such a delight and so wonderful. And I can't thank you enough. And again, you're our Duggar, Digger, and now Nancy Guthrie expert as well. And you're always welcome on here anytime you want to come on. You have been
Appreciate it.
you've been such a big help to us because I sit here and try and explain things and I'm going around in circles, and you come in and you just calmly explain it and lay it all out and make it nice and easy for us to understand. And I greatly appreciate you, my dear.
Well,
So,
thank you. I appreciate the invitation.
well, and you will keep us up to date on the Duggars, right?
I'll do my best.
Okay. I know you will do great. And when you have something, again, you can come on every night as far as I'm concerned. Oh, and Stacy feels the exact same way I do. You're
She's
welcome
so
on
nice.
anytime. Isn't she great? She's the best.
Yeah,
Okay,
very
everybody,
sweet.
I want to thank our wonderful moderators. That would be Lynn Gentoo, Detective's Daughter, Moonlight View, Love and Coco, Leisha Gallegos, and Four Sons Mom. Ladies, thank you so, so much. Little Texan, you are the best. Stacy will be back tomorrow. And be sure and check out right now, Websleuths.com, the very best true crime discussion forum, okay? Okay, we'll see you tomorrow night, 10:30 Eastern on Websleuths YouTube Live. See you then, everybody. Bye-bye.